Hello and welcome to a brief tour of the Goodwill Bookstore in my local area. This is a view of the one of two locations that I typically go to, and this is my fun hangout on Saturdays. Always a treat when I go in. There's always great finds if you've seen any of my book hauls. This is from the Goodwill website, and I strongly encourage you to go check out the Goodwill website from your local area. As a former educational assistant, I used to go on job placements with my students. They always had an amazing experience there, were treated very well, felt like part of the team, earned some job skills, and it was always a pleasant experience. There's just so many wonderful things about Goodwill, supporting people. They have training programs, teach job skills. There's just a wide range of things and reasons to support your local Goodwill Industries. Along with the bookstores, of course, there are other stores where they have clothing and knickknacks and just so many things available, but this focuses on the bookstore where I typically go. This next clip is also from the Goodwill website in my area, and I really want to point out the mission statement about changing lives and communities through the power of work. As any of my former students can tell you, I am a big advocate of people getting job skills and training to go to work, not to finish high school and go on social benefits. It's why it very much makes me angry that in our area, in our province, vocational schools have been closing and students are no longer getting that experience along with their academics. Because in the vocational schools, of course, we had staff specifically trained to work with students who had a variety of learning needs, and now they're just thrown into the mix. But I digress. The mandate from Goodwill, I'm not going to read it. You can always pause the video. But the main thing at the bottom again, strengthening communities. When people work, communities work. Also by donating to Goodwill and other agencies, you keep things out of landfill so they get reused and provide a variety of things in the community. Now, here is the fiction section, and it's organized A to Z. This is one of the areas. I'm not a big reader of Patricia Cornwell, but I do know a number of booktubers have mentioned her and her works. And in my area, there is always a big selection of her books. That's the yellow arrow. The blue arrow is Clive Cussler. And again, not someone that I typically read, but I know it's a name that I've heard a number of booktubers talking about. So this may give you a little idea of why the thrift store is such a great place to check out. And yeah, if shipping rates and things were different, I would gladly be picking up a number of these titles and sending them along to my pals in other locations. Here we have David Baldacci. I may have said that wrong. I know Kevin Toll Reads has talked quite a bit about him, and yes, there's almost a whole shelf of work to choose from there. And I know that Kat at Ginger Bibliophile is a J.D. Robb reader, and we have a nice selection of those books up here. In this slide, I actually cut up 3 different pictures to put them together because they're in alphabetical order in the store. But at the top, we have Robert Ludlum. Next, we have Ian Rankin, and on the bottom shelf is a small selection of Anne Rice. Now, up until the last little while, there was a much bigger selection of Anne Rice books, which is what I'm personally looking for, as Kat and I are doing our reread of the Vampire Chronicles. But I guess people have figured out there's a TV show. For folks who read Ludlum and Rankin, there's a big selection, but as I say, those are more what my husband reads. And here is James Patterson, again, something that my husband is more inclined to read than I am. It just makes me chuckle whenever I go into the store and I see all these titles that I've heard other people are quite interested in reading. So I just wanted to share about the selection that my local Goodwill store has. And I'm always fascinated when I hear other people saying, they just don't have quite the selection in that area. Now, this wall, the first three sections, I believe, are all the classics. This is where I found a number of titles for the 24 in 2024 project that was created by MJ from Reading This Life. She is again doing that event. It's 25 in 2025. So for more information about that, be sure to head over to MJ's channel. I'm not participating this year. I do believe it's an important issue. I just can't do it this year with all the cray-cray going on in the world. Now, coming up is the area where I spend the vast majority of my time, next to the section on ghost stories. And yes, I'm having to record this again, so note my voice and that picture aren't going to match. And we're almost there. This is the area I spend most of my time in. There's fantasy. Then we have horror, where I find King and Koontz books, and this is all science fiction. This bottom shelf with the yellow area is mostly Star Trek, with a bit of Star Wars, but typically it's Star Trek books there. I've shared during one of my book hauls that this is where I found the Alan Dean Foster series. I found 9 of the 10 books during my first shop, and the next time, several weeks later, I found the one book that I needed to complete that series of 10. I always check this section when I go in the store because I'm very much looking forward to the book truck event created by Vin from Revenant Reads, and that runs June, July, and August. Definite synchronicity being able to find those 10 books, and there's always a wide range of books there, whether they're trivia compendiums and more. This section I don't go to very often. I basically walk past it to another favorite section. So here we are at the romance section, which is not one I visit often. Apparently, I'm not the only one who didn't read 50 Shades of Grey. They have a lot of copies there. I'm not sure why, but a lot of people have donated them. Basically, I've been looking for Sarah J Maas to finish ACOTAR, but there are never any copies when I've been looking. That's only been in the last while, so I'll have to keep an eye out. But what I did learn is there is a wide range of romance genres. Who knew? Certainly not me, and it likely won't be an area I hang out at very often, just not my thing. This is my thing. So at the top here is where I found the Star Wars coloring book, so I always check in there. The yellow arrow is showing you all the self-help books, and there's quite a wide selection. I found my Julia Cameron and others there. The blue arrow is gardening and crafts, and a huge selection, which I always enjoy browsing through. There are so many other sections that I could have shared, but I wanted to share some of the ones that show books that people are talking about on BookTube. Like I say, they're pretty much my husband's read more so than mine. But if you've seen any of my book hauls, you know I also find a ton of books that I enjoy. Here I'm showing at the front, as you walk in the doors, there are three sections of books, $1 each. I always browse through there as I found Stephen King, Dean Koontz, and so many others. And then I go head into the store to go browsing through all the other sections that also include ghost stories, humor, history, you name it, they have it. It's an amazing way to get a good deal on books, support your local community, support community programs. There's just so many wonderful things to say. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you shop at your local thrift store? Do you have the same kind of variety as we do here? And until next time, remember, happy thrift shopping and take good care.